In the quiet, dim-lit streets of a quaint human settlement on the distant planet of Bultra, a small bakery was at the heart of a mystery that had been quietly persisting for several weeks. Ethan, a generous and gentle baker, found himself perplexed by the unusual disappearance of his freshly baked bread every night. The settlement, though far from Earth, thrived amidst the lush alien flora, a serene blend of human innovation and extraterrestrial beauty. Yet, in this tranquil setting, an intriguing puzzle unfolded with each morning light. Ethan, an embodiment of warmth and kindness, opened his bakery each day with the hope of serving the bustling settlement with pastries, loaves, and the comforting aroma of freshly baked goods. However, the continuous loss of bread from his shop puzzled him deeply. It wasn't merely the inconvenience of lost goods that troubled him, but the silent question of who or what was taking the bread. The idea that someone might be in need haunted him more than the theft itself. The settlement, nestled amid alien landscapes with vibrant, bioluminescent vegetation, was home to a close-knit community of humans. The people here had adapted to this new world, bringing with them their cultures and customs, shaping a unique blend of earthly routines amidst alien wonders. Ethan's bakery stood as a cornerstone of this community, a place for gathering, sharing stories, and savoring the taste of familiarity in an unfamiliar world. Despite the oddity of the situation, Ethan remained intrigued rather than irritated. His nature was to understand rather than accuse. Each morning, as he surveyed the empty shelves where loaves had been meticulously placed the night before, his curiosity grew. The bread was always taken under the cover of darkness, leaving no trace except for the absence of its doughy presence. The enigma surrounding the nightly disappearances captivated not only Ethan but also the townspeople. Yet, their approaches differed. Where others might have set traps or devices to catch the culprit, Ethan chose a path of quiet observation. He was driven by an unshakable belief in the goodness of intentions, even those hidden behind such peculiar acts. In the whispered conversations within the bakery, speculation about the thief ranged from mischievous children to local wildlife. Yet, Ethan sensed something deeper, something more human, or perhaps not entirely human, in the motivations behind the thefts. The notion that the bread might be feeding someone in need nestled firmly in his thoughts. Word of the missing bread had begun to drift through the settlement, reaching the ears of the colony's officials. For some, the thefts were a trivial matter in the face of larger concerns, but for Ethan, it was a personal quest, a mystery he felt compelled to unravel with compassion and understanding. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan's determination to discover the truth behind the vanishing bread grew stronger. The settlement's atmosphere, usually so vibrant, seemed to hold its breath in anticipation of a revelation that felt inevitable. Even as others might have grown impatient or angry, Ethan's resolve remained steady, marked by a patient curiosity that endeared him to those around him. The allure of the mystery lay not just in the act itself but in the potential story behind it. Ethan imagined countless scenarios, each painting an unseen figure in shades of necessity and hidden kindness. He couldn't shake the feeling that the answer lay not in stopping the thefts but in understanding the story they whispered each night. Encouraging viewers to follow the unfolding tale, Ethan's journey promised to offer not just a solution to a theft but a deeper insight into the ties that bind communities, even those millions of miles from home. An invitation lingered in the air to stay tuned, to witness the unraveling of a story that seemed as much a part of the stars as it did of the earth beneath their feet. Ethan had always been a part of the human settlement on the distant planet of Viridian since its inception. As a young man, his heart had been pulled towards baking, a passion kindled by the comforting smell of fresh bread and the warmth it brought to people's lives. On Earth, his family owned a small bakery, and he spent his childhood watching his parents knead dough and create culinary wonders from simple ingredients. So when the opportunity arose to join the colony, he brought his love for baking with him, dreaming of starting anew amid the stars. The human colony was a marvel, nestled within a lush valley surrounded by towering alien flora. Though the planet was foreign, its natural beauty mirrored lush landscapes Ethan had only seen in books back on Earth. The settlers had carefully engineered a balance with the planet's ecosystem, allowing human life to flourish without disrupting the native environment. Each morning, the settlement buzzed with life, from the farmers tending to alien crops to the scientists conducting research aimed at understanding Viridian's unique biosphere. Ethan's bakery stood at the heart of this thriving community. Its rustic charm, with walls painted in warm earth tones and a quaint sign swinging gently in the breeze, invited residents to indulge in its delights. The gentle clinking of the bell over the door was a familiar sound to the patrons who came seeking warmth and camaraderie with their morning coffee. Ethan took pride in his craft, pouring love into each loaf of bread and every pastry that crossed his counter. His compassion set him apart, making the bakery more than just a place for food. It was a place of gathering, where laughter and stories were shared, and where people sought solace amidst the daily hubbub of colony life. Despite the bakery's central role in the community, Ethan remained humble, more interested in the smiles of satisfied customers than in accolades or recognition. Yet, his curiosity often led him to ponder the mysteries around him. The unexplained disappearance of bread at night intrigued him, posing a puzzle that tugged at his imagination. Every morning, he would find his stock mysteriously diminished, yet there was never any sign of forced entry. This nightly occurrence became a topic of quiet speculation among the townspeople, whispered about over steaming mugs of coffee and in the soft glow of early morning. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the thefts than met the eye, perhaps something beyond a simple act of greed. His heart, ever open and understanding, leaned towards compassion rather than judgment. He wondered who might need the bread so desperately that they would risk sneaking into the bakery under cover of darkness. The human colony, while flourishing, was still isolated on this alien world, its citizens a blend of pioneers and dreamers, each with their own stories and secrets. Ethan's life, intertwined with the daily rhythm of the settlement, was filled with small joys and moments of reflection. His interactions with the other settlers, from the weary miners to the eager children, enriched his days, providing him with a sense of purpose and belonging. Despite the mystery, Ethan continued his work, kneading dough and shaping loaves with practiced hands, his mind wandering to the unknown thief and their motives. He couldn't help but feel a connection to whoever was taking the bread, driven by their circumstances to act in the shadows. This sense of unknown kinship sparked a determination within him to understand and help, if possible. After all, the very essence of his craft was about nourishing others, both body and soul. In the weeks that followed, Ethan began to pay closer attention to the subtle signs around him, the faint footprints in the morning dew, and the gentle sound of the door swinging shut in the middle of the night. His heart, full of empathy, guided him towards a truth he felt compelled to uncover, a truth that would soon reveal itself in the form of an unexpected visitor, bringing with them a story of survival and hope. Ethan's observations led him to suspect that the nightly bread thief could be someone who desperately needed help rather than a mere criminal. He had noticed the quiet rustling around his bakery, a sound so subtle that many would have missed it. His curiosity piqued, he began to pay more attention to the signs around him. The scattered crumbs leading away from the bakery hinted at a path taken by the mysterious visitor. As the days passed, Ethan's thoughts often drifted to the possible identity of this elusive figure. He imagined the thief's life, the struggles they might face, and what drove them to steal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and stars began to twinkle in the vast sky, Ethan saw a shadow move quickly but quietly past the bakery window. It was a fleeting glimpse, but it was enough to fuel his suspicions further. The figure was small and agile, moving with a practiced stealth that spoke of necessity. Ethan's heart pounded as he realized he was possibly watching the thief in action. His mind raced with questions. Who were they? What circumstances forced them into this life? He couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the exterior of a thief lay a story worth knowing. His curiosity was not unfounded. The thief, he discovered, was not human but an alien girl named Zilla. Her appearance was striking, with skin that shimmered faintly under the moonlight and eyes that glowed softly. Her movements were cautious, as if she constantly calculated her surroundings. She exhibited a mix of grace and urgency that Ethan found both intriguing and heartbreaking. Zilla's desperation was evident in her actions. She never took more than necessary, suggesting a deep-seated respect for the supplies she acquired. Her routine was consistent, visiting only at night, when the settlement was quiet and most vulnerable to overlook such transgressions. Ethan noticed that she often paused, listening intently for any sounds that might indicate danger before proceeding with her task. Ethan's observations of Zilla painted a picture of someone driven by necessity rather than malice. Her nightly visits were methodical, and her caution reflected a life that demanded constant vigilance. He imagined that she was perhaps the sole provider for someone in dire need. The thought lingered in his mind, fostering a growing empathy for the alien girl he had never spoken to. Zilla's presence in the settlement was a mystery in itself. Her appearance suggested she was not like the other inhabitants, and her actions indicated a steadfast determination to survive. Ethan couldn't help but admire her resilience and wondered about the life that had brought her to this point. The more he watched, the more he felt compelled to understand her story. The nights passed slowly as Ethan continued his quiet observations, piecing together the fragments of Zilla's life through the clues she left behind. He noted the times she appeared, the routes she took, and the little signs of her presence that others might overlook. Every detail added depth to his understanding and intensified his resolve to help her, if only he could find a way to do so without causing her fear. Ethan's growing understanding of Zilla's plight was not without inner conflict. He grappled with the ethical implications of allowing the theft to continue unchecked. Yet, his heart told him that turning her in was not the solution. There was a deep-seated need to reach out, to bridge the gap between their worlds, and offer aid to someone who had silently become a part of his life. As he mulled over these thoughts, Ethan resolved to learn more about Zilla. He wanted to move beyond the shadows and understand the person behind the deeds. The time had come, he decided, to prepare for a more direct interaction. He would wait for the right moment, a night when the stars aligned for a meeting that would change everything. With newfound determination, Ethan began devising a plan, knowing it was time to step out from the shadows and into the light of discovery. Ethan lay awake in bed, the mystery weighing heavily on his mind. The nightly disappearance of bread from his bakery had become more than a simple annoyance, it was now a puzzle he felt compelled to solve. He had always been a man of routine, finding comfort in the predictable rhythm of kneading dough and the sweet scent of baking bread wafting through the air. But this thief, this shadowy figure that slipped in and out undetected, was disrupting that rhythm. Intrigue mingled with a sense of apprehension as he made up his mind to discover the truth. The decision was not made lightly. Ethan was a gentle soul, disliking conflict or confrontation. Yet the urge to uncover the mystery was stronger than his reluctance. He prepared for the stakeout with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. As dusk fell over the colony, casting long shadows across the streets, Ethan settled into a hidden corner of the bakery. The air was cool, carrying with it the nocturnal sounds of the alien world. He felt a strange thrill, as if embarking on an adventure. His heart pounded with anticipation as he watched the entrance. Hours passed, marked by the slow crawl of the moon across the sky. Ethan's eyes flickered between the door and the surrounding shadows, every rustle or whisper of the wind heightening his senses. Then, finally, movement, a slight figure slipping through the door with the stealth of a practiced thief. He held his breath, watching intently as the figure moved with swift, graceful motions. The moment he had been waiting for arrived when the figure reached for the bread. Collecting his courage, Ethan stepped out from his hiding place. "Stop there!" he called, his voice low but firm. The figure froze, turning slowly to face him. Moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating the slender form of a young alien girl. Her skin was a soft, shimmering blue, and her eyes, large and expressive, were filled with fear and surprise. For a moment, they stared at each other in silence. Ethan's heart softened as he saw the desperation etched into her features. This was not the face of a hardened criminal but of someone driven by necessity. He felt a pang of guilt for frightening her, but there was no turning back now. Maintaining a gentle tone, he asked, "Why are you taking the bread?" The girl glanced at the loaf in her hand, then back at Ethan, as if weighing her options. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper, "I am sorry. I must feed my mother." The admission hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken stories. Ethan's mind raced with questions, yet he sensed that pressing too hard might cause her to flee. Instead, he softened his stance, nodding slightly to indicate understanding. The tension in the room began to ease as he assured her, "I won't turn you in. But you must tell me why." The words seemed to break a dam within her, and she nodded, her posture relaxing slightly. She explained in hesitant phrases, conveying the urgency of her situation and the illness that plagued her mother. A flicker of empathy kindled in Ethan's heart, making him more determined to help rather than hinder. He could see her struggle, a battle between vulnerability and the need to protect her family. Her eyes, though wary, held a spark of hope, a silent plea for compassion. Ethan took a step forward, extending a hand not in accusation but in solidarity. "Let's find a way to help," he offered. His words were more than a promise, they were a bridge between their worlds, a chance to transform an act of theft into a bond of trust. The girl hesitated, her gaze searching his face for any sign of deceit. Finding none, she nodded, a small, grateful smile touching her lips. In that moment, Ethan understood that this encounter was just the beginning. Together, they could navigate the challenges ahead, turning suspicion into a shared journey of understanding and cooperation. Ethan's heart pounded as he stepped into the dimly lit alley behind his bakery. The air was thick with anticipation, and the faint rustle of leaves echoed like whispers in the darkness. He had finally decided to confront the mysterious thief who had, night after night, stolen bread with an almost ghostly precision. Tonight, he would meet the enigmatic figure face to face. As he approached the spot where he had left the loaf as bait, he felt a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. He hoped this encounter would provide answers. The night was silent, save for the distant hum of interstellar flight paths, a reminder of their remote colony surrounded by vast alien wilderness. The distant stars cast a gentle glow, illuminating the scene with an ethereal light. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he saw a shadow move. A figure appeared, slender and cautious, approaching with the stealth of a wild creature. His pulse quickened, but he steeled himself, determined not to let fear take over. As the figure came closer, The dim light revealed the features of a young alien girl, Zilla. Her skin shimmered faintly with hues of celestial blue, her eyes wide and filled with both defiance and fear. For a moment, their eyes locked, and Ethan felt a jolt of recognition, not of who she was, but of the universal language of desperation etched across her face. He realized this was no ordinary thief. She was driven by something more profound than mere hunger. Instinctively, Ethan softened his posture, trying to convey that he was not a threat. "Why?" he asked softly, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, laced with curiosity rather than accusation. Zilla hesitated, her gaze darting between Ethan and the bread. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken fears and unshed tears. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely a whisper, colored by an accent unfamiliar yet strangely musical. "For my mother," she said, her words tinged with a sadness that pierced Ethan's heart. The sincerity in her voice dismantled any lingering doubts Ethan had about her intentions. He could see her struggle, her internal battle between pride and the necessity that had driven her to steal. He understood that she was not motivated by greed or malice but by a desperate need to care for someone she loved. In that moment, Ethan's perspective shifted, and he felt an overwhelming urge to help rather than judge. Stepping forward, he extended the loaf towards her, a gesture of peace and understanding. Zilla hesitated, eyeing him warily, unsure whether to trust this unexpected kindness. Yet, something in Ethan's demeanor assured her of his sincerity. Slowly, she reached out, her fingers brushing against the bread, a silent acceptance of his offer. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice barely audible. Her eyes, once filled with suspicion, now held a glimmer of hope. In that fleeting exchange, a tentative bridge was built between their worlds, forged from empathy and necessity. Ethan realized that their encounter was just the beginning of something more significant, a shared journey towards understanding and trust. As Zilla turned to leave, Ethan felt an unspoken connection tethering them. "Wait," he called out, his voice gentle yet firm. She paused, turning slightly, her expression questioning. "I want to help more. Tell me what you need," he offered, his heart open with genuine compassion. Zilla hesitated, uncertainty flickering across her face. But the weight of her responsibilities was too great to ignore. She nodded, a subtle agreement to his offer of help. In that moment, Ethan knew he had made the right choice. This was no longer just about stolen bread, it was about reaching beyond cultural divides, about humanity in its truest sense. The night sky bore witness to their silent pact. Beneath the vast canopy of stars, Ethan and Zilla stood together, two souls united by a shared purpose. As Ethan watched her disappear into the shadows, he felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. This was just the beginning of their story, a tale of courage, compassion, and the transformative power of understanding. Ethan stood quietly behind his counter, his eyes fixated on the street outside, a flurry of emotions swirling within him like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. The night was cloaked in a silent, velvet darkness, broken only by the occasional flicker of a distant star. The cobbled path was deserted, save for the whispering winds that occasionally swirled dust into the air. Ethan's resolve was firm, he had decided not to turn in Zilla, the alien girl whose actions had brought them to this moment. Instead, he saw an opportunity for understanding, the potential to bridge a chasm between their worlds that had seemed insurmountable. Zilla stood before him, her eyes wide and her posture tentative. She had expected anger, perhaps even betrayal, yet Ethan's demeanor was unexpectedly gentle, his expression one of empathy rather than accusation. Slowly, he extended a hand, a gesture of peace. It was a cautious offering, one that spoke of his willingness to listen, to forge a connection despite their differences. Zilla hesitated for a moment that stretched like eternity before placing her slender fingers into his. A tentative trust began to bloom between them, fragile yet full of promise. Their conversation was stilted at first, awkward silences interspersed with guarded words. Ethan struggled to articulate his questions, unsure of how to navigate the uncharted waters of this newfound alliance. Zilla, in turn, spoke softly, her voice carrying the melodic cadence of her native tongue, occasionally stumbling over human words she'd only learned in whispers on the wind. They shared snippets of their lives, each revealing in pieces the world they came from. Ethan learned about Zilla's mother, the shadow that loomed large over her every action. The mother was ailing, trapped in the confines of an illness that had gripped her with icy fingers, refusing to let go. Zilla described nights spent by her mother's side, the fear that clawed at her heart each time her mother wheezed painfully against the silence of their home. Resources for treatment were scarce, especially for those like Zilla and her mother, aliens on a planet that had not been kind to them. As Zilla shared her story, the depth of her desperation became clear, and with it, Ethan's resolve solidified. Here, standing before him, was not a thief, but a daughter clinging to hope as though it were the last star in a darkened sky. The chasm between their worlds seemed narrower now, built on common ground rather than the vast divide of prejudice and misunderstanding. Ethan's thoughts were a whirlwind. He realized that he possessed resources that could change Zilla's world. His bakery, once just a livelihood, now felt like it could be a beacon of hope and kindness. The bread, a simple staple of life, had become an emblem of their budding alliance, a way to sustain Zilla's mother and, perhaps, in a small way, begin to heal the rift. Their conversation stretched into the night, each word forging a stronger bond of understanding and mutual respect. Ethan offered his help without reservation, pledging to aid Zilla in whatever way he could. Zilla, for her part, shared more about the customs of her people, secrets of a world that was as alien to Ethan as his was to her. Their exchanges felt like tentative steps on a bridge built from trust and shared humanity, despite their differences in species. As dawn brushed the sky with hues of orange and pink, both Ethan and Zilla knew that they had taken the first steps towards something greater than themselves. They were united in purpose, driven by a shared desire to see Zilla's mother well again. With a plan forming between them, a friendship began that neither had anticipated, yet both welcomed. Their journey was just beginning, a testament to the power of empathy and a reminder that bridges built on trust could span even the widest divides. In the quiet solitude of a dimly lit corner, Zilla began to narrate the story of her life, her voice trembling with both reluctance and necessity. The air was heavy with the scent of freshly baked bread, but even that comforting aroma couldn't overshadow the gravity of her tale. She spoke of her home, nestled in the heart of an alien community that thrived beneath the planet's lush canopies. Her eyes, large and luminescent, reflected the pain and struggles she and her family had endured. Zilla described the sickness that had befallen her mother, an ailment mysterious and relentless, which had slowly stripped away the vitality of the woman who once embodied strength and kindness. The alien community, while rich in tradition and knowledge, lacked the medical resources that the human settlers possessed. This disparity had forced Zilla into an unbearable position, torn between the desperate need to provide for her family and the growing tension between the alien natives and the newly arrived human colonists. The socio-economic divide was stark, with humans arriving with advanced technology and efficient agricultural practices that quickly established their settlements as prosperous hubs. Meanwhile, Zilla's people, who had thrived for generations on the natural bounty of the planetary ecosystem, began to feel the encroaching pressure of resource scarcity. Forests that once teemed with life and abundance now bore signs of depletion, a change exacerbated by the settlers' expansive farming methods. As Ethan listened, each of Zilla's words chipped away at the wall of misunderstanding that existed between them. He could see the fear etched on her face, a fear not only of immediate reprisal but of an uncertain future. For Zilla, every loaf of bread taken was a gamble, a tribute to hope against despair and a silent plea for help in the face of her people's decline. The compassion that Ethan felt deepened, spurred by both her bravery and the unjust circumstances of her plight. The systemic inequities were not lost on him, and he began to see the broader picture of the colony's impact on the native population. It was a sobering realization that human progress, often so celebrated, could inadvertently crush those who had called this world home long before the pioneers arrived. As evening settled into night, the bakery became more than just a backdrop to Zilla's confessions. It transformed into a sanctuary of shared sadness and burgeoning trust. Ethan's resolve solidified with every tale she recounted, each more heartbreaking than the last. His imagination painted vivid pictures of her family's struggles and the resilience they mustered against overwhelming odds. The injustice of it all stirred something deep within him, awakening a determination not just to help Zilla with fleeting gestures of kindness, but to seek a more enduring solution. Zilla detailed the days spent foraging for rare medicinal plants, whose effectiveness paled in comparison to the medicines Ethan's people possessed. She explained how her mother's condition sometimes improved slightly, only to relapse, forcing them into a cycle of hope and despair. Despite the harshness of their reality, Zilla's eyes still held a spark of unyielded determination. The narrative of Zilla's life was not just a plea for empathy, it was a call to action, a story that demanded acknowledgement and response. In sharing her burdens, she offered Ethan a glimpse into a world of struggle that demanded not just recognition but profound and meaningful change. Ethan, moved by her strength and vulnerability, felt an undeniable connection to Zilla. Her willingness to trust him with her deepest fears was an honor he could not take lightly. He offered not just silent solace but an implicit promise to seek understanding and aid. This moment between them, though born out of theft and secrecy, began to bloom into a partnership rooted in mutual respect and a shared desire to bridge the divides that threatened to separate their worlds irreparably. As their conversation wound down, the weight of Zilla's story lingered in the air with a palpable sense of urgency. It left Ethan pondering not only the inequities before him but also the potential for unity and the impact a single act of compassion could have in reshaping destinies. In the soft glow of the bakery's interior, Ethan found unexpected companionship in Zilla. Their clandestine meetings became a lifeline, not only for Zilla's ailing mother but also for Ethan, who discovered a friendship that transcended species. Each evening, after the bustling colony quieted, Zilla would slip through the shadows, her presence a secret that the bakery harbored. Over time, their exchanges evolved from cautious whispers to comfortable conversations filled with shared laughter and mutual understanding. Ethan, ever the curious baker, found himself fascinated by Zilla's stories of her people. Her descriptions painted vivid images of vibrant landscapes and ancient traditions. In return, Ethan shared tales of Earth, of its bustling cities and simple pleasures, the warmth of family gatherings, and the art of crafting bread with love. This cultural exchange became a bridge, linking two worlds that coexisted yet remained distant. One night, as they sat together behind the bakery, Zilla opened up about her people's history. Her eyes shimmered with the light of the moon as she spoke of the pride and resilience of her ancestors. She described the challenges they faced as the planet's original inhabitants, struggling to adapt to the changes brought by human colonization. Ethan listened intently, his heart aching with newfound empathy, realizing how much her people sacrificed to coexist peacefully. The bakery itself became a symbol of their growing bond. Its warmth and inviting aroma enveloped them, a sanctuary where differences melted away. The quiet of the night often found Zilla experimenting alongside Ethan, her curiosity piqued by his skilled hands as he kneaded dough and measured ingredients with precision. She marveled at the transformation of simple components into something nourishing and comforting. The process seemed magical to her, a testament to human ingenuity and care. In these moments, Ethan realized how much he valued Zilla's insights. Her perspective challenged his views, expanding his understanding of the world beyond his human lens. He began to see the colony's environment through her eyes, noticing the subtle beauty in the alien flora and fauna that he once overlooked. Zilla's guidance helped him appreciate the interconnectedness of their worlds, revealing that despite their differences, they shared fundamental desires for family, health, and peace. As trust deepened, Zilla confided more about her mother's condition. Her voice, tinged with worry, revealed the depth of her love and the burden she bore as the sole caregiver. Ethan admired her strength, recognizing the weight of responsibility on her slender shoulders. He felt compelled to do more, to offer compassion and aid without hesitation. This resolve was fueled by the realization that their friendship was not just an alliance of necessity but a genuine connection that enriched both their lives. Their meetings were not without moments of levity. Zilla's initial awkwardness in handling human utensils provided much amusement, and Ethan's attempts to mimic her people's complex gestures often left them doubled over with laughter. These light-hearted exchanges forged an intimacy that transcended words, creating a language of friendship that needed no translation. Yet, beneath the camaraderie lay an undercurrent of tension. Both were acutely aware of the risks. The discovery of their secret could have dire consequences for Zilla and her mother. This knowledge hung over them like a shadow, urging caution even as it bound them closer. Their friendship, though tender and genuine, was a delicate balance between joy and the ever-present threat of exposure. Ethan found himself increasingly introspective, pondering the broader implications of their relationship. He envisioned a future where humans and aliens could coexist harmoniously, learning from one another without fear or prejudice. The bakery, a small microcosm of this dream, stood as a testament to the possibility of unity. As they parted each night, Ethan felt a sense of fulfillment that transcended the ordinary. He understood that his actions, though small, were part of a larger narrative of change and understanding. Together, they crafted not only bread but a bond that symbolized hope for a future where kindness and empathy bridged the vast chasm between their worlds. Ethan sat behind the counter of his small bakery, the aroma of freshly baked bread filling the air. Outside, the sky was a deep indigo, stars faintly glistening against the backdrop of the vast cosmos. The settlement was quiet at this hour, with most of its inhabitants settling in for the night. A gentle hum from the alien wildlife served as the evening's chorus, a constant reminder of their existence on this distant world. Lately, Ethan had found himself constantly on edge. The usual tranquility of his nights had been disrupted by an unsettling concern, the disappearance of bread loaves from his bakery. Initially, he dismissed it as a trivial loss, perhaps the result of his own forgetfulness or an accidental miscalculation. Yet, as the nights wore on, the mystery deepened, hinting at something more significant. Someone was taking those loaves, and it wasn't long before he connected the dots to Zilla, the alien girl he'd encountered. Their initial meeting had been awkward, a dance of tentative words and unspoken fears. Ethan had learned of Zilla's plight, a struggle to care for her ailing mother. Despite the risks, He felt compelled to assist her, driven by an empathy he couldn't quite explain. But now, the increasing pressure from human authorities hovered over him like a storm cloud, threatening the fragile balance he'd managed to maintain. Ethan peered out the window, watching shadows dance across the settlement's cobblestone pathways. Memories of his conversations with Zilla flickered through his mind. He recalled the stories she shared, tales of her mother's illness and the scarcity of resources among her people. Each loaf of bread represented a small token of hope, a gesture that transcended the cultural chasm between them. However, the authorities were beginning to notice the unexplained shortages. Already, whispers of thefts and suspicions circulated among the settlers. The fragile peace that Ethan cherished was at risk, and he was caught in the middle, torn between his loyalty to his fellow humans and his burgeoning friendship with Zilla. His internal conflict gnawed at him, a persistent reminder of the stakes involved. Understanding the authorities' vigilance, Ethan knew it was only a matter of time before questions would lead to him. The thought of betraying Zilla weighed heavily on him, and he found solace in the quiet moments they shared, where words were often unnecessary. In those moments, the bakery felt like a haven, a world removed from the suspicions and fears beyond its walls. Zilla, too, was acutely aware of the growing danger. Her visits had become more infrequent and cautious. Each time she slipped through the back door of the bakery, she carried with her a mix of gratitude and anxiety. Her eyes, usually vibrant with hope, now held a shadow of worry, each glance over her shoulder a silent plea for safety. Ethan knew that protecting Zilla meant more than just providing bread. It required discretion and a careful balancing act between aiding her and avoiding detection. Yet, the reality of their situation loomed ever larger, threatening to unravel the delicate trust they had built. He couldn't shake the feeling that, soon, the night would bring more than just the usual creaks and whispers from the world outside. As the evening progressed, Ethan resolved to find a way to ease the tension mounting within him. He needed a plan, something that could shield Zilla from discovery while offering reassurance to the concerned settlers. But devising such a plan was no simple task, and time was not on their side. The night stretched on, a silent testament to the looming challenges. Ethan leaned back, contemplating the stars that hung like distant lanterns in the sky. He hoped they might guide him, offering clarity where uncertainty prevailed. For now, all he had was the quiet promise he made to Zilla, that he wouldn't let fear dictate their actions, that he would find a way to bridge the worlds they inhabited, one loaf at a time. The morning air hung thick with anticipation as Ethan wiped flour from his hands, the aroma of freshly baked bread wafting through the bakery. His heart pounded with a mix of anxiety and resolve. The authorities had arrived, their presence a stark reminder of the delicate balance he maintained. Their stern faces spoke volumes, and Ethan knew his secret was on the brink of exposure. They questioned him about the nightly thefts, their eyes probing for signs of guilt or deception. Ethan's mind raced, searching for words that could shield Zilla from the scrutiny now directed at him. He stood firm, his gaze unwavering. "I've noticed some bread missing," he admitted, careful to maintain a tone of innocuous concern. The truth danced just beneath the surface, but he dared not let it spill. He feigned ignorance, hoping the authorities would attribute the losses to mere oversight or perhaps a stray animal. But their persistence was unyielding, and Ethan felt the weight of their suspicion pressing down on him. Each question they posed was a step closer to unmasking his clandestine alliance with Zilla. Ethan's thoughts drifted to her, the alien girl who had inadvertently changed everything. Her haunted eyes spoke of burdens beyond her years, and he was determined to protect her at all costs. The authorities continued their interrogation, yet Ethan's resolve only strengthened. He realized that every word he uttered was a safeguard, a shield for the fragile trust he had cultivated with Zilla. As the questioning dragged on, Ethan's mind churned, formulating a plan to ensure her safety. The authorities finally departed, leaving Ethan with a sense of urgency. He knew the time had come to act decisively, to forge a path that would spare Zilla from the prying eyes and curious whispers. Ethan retreated into the quiet sanctuary of the bakery, his thoughts consumed by the precariousness of their situation. The bond he shared with Zilla had deepened into something profound, a partnership forged in secrecy and understanding. But now, that bond was threatened, and Ethan felt the urgency to secure a future for both her and her ailing mother. His mind raced, weighing options and consequences. The risks were manifold, yet the alternative, exposing Zilla to the harsh scrutiny of human authorities, was unthinkable. Ethan knew he had to make a choice, one that would define not only his future but hers as well. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but his resolve was unwavering. He envisioned a plan that would safeguard Zilla, a plan that would require audacity and precision. He envisioned a future where Zilla's mother could receive the care she desperately needed, where the shadow of fear no longer loomed over their clandestine alliance. To achieve this, Ethan knew he had to act swiftly, to outmaneuver the watchful eyes now trained on him. The idea took root, a daring scheme that could alter the course of their intertwined destinies. Ethan felt a surge of determination. He would secure medicine and provisions, somehow evading detection. With the plan set in his mind, Ethan's heart swelled with hope. The journey ahead was perilous, but he understood the stakes. Each step he took would be measured, each decision crafted with care. He envisioned the relief in Zilla's eyes when he revealed his intentions, the gratitude that would replace the worry etched into her features. Together, they would navigate this treacherous path, their resolve stronger than the obstacles before them. Ethan's determination was a beacon, guiding him through the uncertainty that lay ahead. He would protect Zilla, shield her from the world's harsh judgment, and ensure that their bond remained unbroken. The bakery would remain a symbol of hope, a testament to the friendship and trust that had blossomed amidst adversity. In the quiet solitude of the bakery, Ethan prepared to face the challenges, ready to rewrite the future with courage and conviction. The path was set, and he was determined to walk it, side by side with Zilla, toward a brighter tomorrow. Ethan sat at his small wooden table, the bakery's dim interior filled with the comforting aroma of fresh bread. His mind raced with plans as he considered how best to help Zilla and her mother. The situation required precision and stealth. He scribbled notes, crossing out ideas that seemed too risky or impractical. The stakes were high, any misstep could endanger Zilla or expose their secret. Despite the risks, Ethan felt a deep sense of resolve. Helping Zilla wasn't just a noble act, it was necessary. He decided on a plan that involved gathering supplies discreetly from the marketplace. Ethan knew the vendors well, and his friendly rapport often allowed him to purchase goods with minimal questions. He planned to collect the surplus items unnoticed, using his charm and routine visits to avoid suspicion. His goal was to gather not only food but also medicines that could alleviate Zilla's mother's suffering. The illness was worsening, and time was running out. Ethan's thoughts turned to Zilla, her gratitude and determination to help her mother inspired him. He remembered her eyes, filled with a mix of hope and desperation, as they discussed the plan. They agreed to meet outside the settlement borders under the cover of night, where Ethan would pass her the needed supplies. His heart ached at the resilience Zilla displayed. She was so young, yet burdened with responsibilities beyond her years. As the day progressed, Ethan began executing his plan. He visited the marketplace, carefully selecting items that wouldn't raise alarms. His interactions were casual, masking the urgency and gravity of his task. Each purchase was calculated, ensuring he gathered everything from nutritious foods to essential medicines. The process felt painstakingly slow, each moment laden with tension, yet Ethan maintained his composure. Back at the bakery, Ethan packed the items into a discreet satchel, concealing them beneath layers of flour sacks. He double-checked everything, ensuring no detail was overlooked. The night would soon fall, and with it, the cover he needed to move undetected. The bakery, once a simple place of business, now served as the hub for this clandestine operation. The irony wasn't lost on Ethan, a baker turned unlikely ally in a fight for survival. As darkness enveloped the settlement, Ethan set out, his heart pounding with each step. The path to the meeting point was familiar yet fraught with new tension. Every shadow seemed to hold potential threats, every sound amplified in the quiet night. He moved swiftly, driven by the urgency of his mission and the hope that lay at its end. Reaching the designated spot, Ethan found Zilla waiting, her form barely discernible in the dim light. Relief washed over him as their eyes met. With careful whispers, they exchanged updates. Zilla's gratitude was palpable, her voice filled with an earnestness that reassured Ethan of their cause's worth. He handed her the satchel, the weight of its contents symbolic of more than just survival. It was hope, a chance for healing and a future that seemed brighter with each step they took together. Ethan watched as Zilla disappeared into the night, clutching the precious supplies. He felt a profound sense of fulfillment mingled with apprehension about the dangers they still faced. The plan was a temporary solution, more hurdles lay ahead. Yet, for now, they had achieved a small victory. This collaboration, born out of necessity, had forged a bond between two disparate worlds, human and alien, united by compassion and a shared struggle. Returning to his empty bakery, Ethan pondered the journey ahead. The path wasn't easy, and the risks were real. But knowing he could make a difference, however small, emboldened him. They would continue to walk this precarious line, driven by the resolve to protect and nurture life. The night wore on, yet Ethan's spirit remained undaunted. In the quiet solitude, he found strength, reaffirmed in his commitment to their shared cause and the hope for a future where such acts of kindness could bridge the divide between their worlds. As the first light of dawn began to filter through the dense canopy of alien flora, Ethan and Zilla prepared to execute their plan with a shared sense of anticipation and dread. The air was crisp, carrying a promise of challenges ahead as they navigated the silent paths through the settlement. Ethan's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, each one tinged with the knowledge that a single misstep could unravel everything they had worked towards. Their target was a storeroom located at the periphery of the human colony, a place where supplies were stored before distribution. It was guarded, but the guards were lax, accustomed to the routine security of a peaceful settlement. Ethan had studied their patterns, noting the moments when their attention waned, providing a window of opportunity for their mission. Zilla, cloaked in a dark, flowing garment that obscured her peculiar features, moved with an agility that belied the tension they both felt. Her eyes were sharp, and her senses heightened, reflecting a life lived on the edge of human and alien worlds. As they approached the storeroom, Ethan felt a pang of uncertainty, wondering if their plan was as foolproof as they hoped. The boundary between success and failure seemed thinner with each step. The two exchanged a brief glance, an unspoken communication that had developed between them since their first encounter. Each knew what was at stake, not just for Zilla's mother but for the fragile bridge of trust and understanding they had built. The storeroom loomed ahead, its metallic facade cold against the morning light. Ethan gestured to Zilla to wait, taking a moment to assess the situation. The guards were chatting idly, their voices carrying in the stillness. Timing was crucial now. Ethan took a deep breath, signaling Zilla with a slight nod. They moved in tandem, a silent, coordinated dance honed by necessity. Ethan approached the storeroom's side entrance, a rarely used access point he had discovered during his reconnaissance. The lock was primitive by modern standards, and Ethan's hands worked deftly, heart pounding in his chest. Moments stretched endlessly until a satisfying click announced their entry. Inside, the storeroom was a treasure trove of goods, food, medicine, all meticulously organized. For a brief moment, the enormity of their task struck them. Ethan and Zilla quickly gathered the items they needed, their movements efficient and practiced. Each item represented hope, a chance for Zilla's mother to recover, for their worlds to intertwine more closely through acts of kindness and daring. As they loaded the supplies into Zilla's bag, a sound outside made them freeze. The voices of the guards grew closer. Ethan's heart raced, adrenaline surging as he realized they were running out of time. He exchanged a tense look with Zilla, their shared urgency palpable. Clutching their precious cargo, they slipped out just as the guards' footsteps approached the entrance. Blending into the shadows, they moved away from the storeroom, hearts pounding in synchrony with each step that took them further from danger. Once they reached the cover of the surrounding forest, Ethan and Zilla paused to catch their breath. Relief mingled with the euphoria of their narrow escape. Yet, amidst the silence, an understanding dawned upon Ethan. This was not just about survival, it was about forging bonds that transcended fear and prejudice. Their journey back to Zilla's dwelling was filled with whispered hopes and unspoken promises. As they reached her home, the sight of her mother's frail form filled the doorway, casting a poignant shadow in the dim light. Zilla's gratitude was evident, a quiet but profound acknowledgement of their shared triumph over adversity. In that moment, standing at the threshold of two worlds, Ethan and Zilla realized that their actions were not merely acts of defiance but of compassion and unity. The execution of their plan, against all odds, symbolized the possibility of a future where humans and aliens could coexist, not just in proximity, but in mutual respect and understanding. Amidst the backdrop of a distant, mysterious world, the silence of the night was shattered by the quiet resolve of two determined souls. Ethan and Zilla, united by necessity and newfound friendship, found themselves at the brink of a breakthrough. Laden with hope and the critical supplies they had so painstakingly secured, they made their way under the canopy of an alien sky, stars twinkling as if in silent encouragement. Their mission had been fraught with challenges, each step more perilous than the last, yet the prospect of success was a beacon guiding them forward. The winding paths of the alien landscape, now almost as familiar to Ethan as the worn floors of his bakery, stretched ahead. Zilla led the way, her movements fluid and purposeful, a reflection of both her alien grace and the desperation that had driven her to this point. Ethan followed, the weight of the supplies balanced across his shoulders, the enormity of their task resonating within him. He knew the stakes, he felt them in every heartbeat, every cautious step they took. As they approached the makeshift shelter that Zilla called home, Ethan's mind wandered briefly to the beginning of their unusual alliance. What had started with suspicion and mystery had blossomed into a clandestine partnership, forged in the heat of necessity and tempered by empathy and understanding. The plight of Zilla's ailing mother had become Ethan's own, their struggles intricately entwined, transcending the boundaries of species and circumstance. Inside the shelter, a fragile peace enveloped them. The air was tinged with the scent of herbs, a blend both soothing and medicinal, a testament to Zilla's attempts to combat her mother's illness with the scant resources available. The elder alien lay in a corner, cocooned in blankets, her breathing shallow and labored. Ethan's heart clenched at the sight. It was one thing to hear of desperation, quite another to witness its tangible form. With careful hands, they administered the medicine Ethan had procured. Zilla's eyes, usually guarded, now shone with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Each dose was a silent promise of relief, and as the moments stretched, hope flickered like a fragile flame within them. Ethan watched intently, the tension in the room palpable, as Zilla's mother stirred, her breathing gradually steadying. The breakthrough came not with fanfare but with a quiet sigh, a softening of the lines etched deeply into her face. Zilla's eyes brimmed with tears, her gratitude an unspoken bond that entwined with Ethan's own relief. The weight they both bore seemed to lighten, a shared burden now eased by the promise of healing. Ethan felt a surge of emotion. They had not merely succeeded in their mission but had forged something far greater, a bridge between worlds, a testament to the power of compassion. As the night wore on, the atmosphere shifted, imbued with the warmth of companionship and mutual triumph. Zilla's mother, now resting more comfortably, symbolized the first of many victories they hoped to achieve. For Ethan, the experience was transformative, a journey from simple baker to an unlikely hero. His actions, initially driven by curiosity and a sense of justice, had grown into a role he could embrace: protector, ally, and friend. Zilla, too, found herself standing on the cusp of new possibilities. The bond she had formed with Ethan was a lifeline in a world that often seemed indifferent to her people's plight. Together, they had weathered the trials, and in doing so, had laid the groundwork for something more enduring, a partnership that transcended mere survival. Their success marked a turning point, a prelude to broader change. Though the road ahead remained uncertain, the shared victory had lit a path through the darkness. It was an end and a beginning, a moment of clarity in an otherwise chaotic world. As they withdrew into the night, the stars above bore witness to their quiet triumph, the universe holding its breath in anticipation of what these two interstellar allies might accomplish. With hope renewed, Ethan and Zilla prepared to face whatever came next, united in purpose and strengthened by their shared humanity. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the marketplace, where humans and aliens milled about in cautious harmony. It was a significant day, not just for Ethan and Zilla, but for the entire community. The events of the past few weeks had forged an unexpected bond between two distinct groups, paving the way for a dialogue that was long overdue. Ethan's bakery, once a quiet corner of the settlement, had transformed into a beacon of this new understanding. People gathered, drawn not only by the promise of fresh bread and pastries but by the story that had unfolded within its walls. The tale of a kind-hearted baker and an alien girl had touched the hearts of many, igniting a conversation about cooperation and empathy. Ethan stood behind the counter, his hands deftly shaping dough, while his mind reflected on the journey that had brought them here. He recalled the initial confusion and the spark of curiosity that had driven him to discover the truth behind the nightly bread thefts. Despite the risks, he had chosen to trust and aid Zilla, recognizing the shared humanity, or perhaps shared kindness, that transcended their differences. Zilla, standing beside Ethan, felt a profound sense of gratitude. The bakery had become a sanctuary, a place where she and her mother could find comfort and sustenance. Her mother's health had improved significantly, thanks to Ethan's daring plan to secure the medicine she so desperately needed. The alien community, previously wary and reclusive, now looked towards the humans with hope and a willingness to engage. The community, gathering that morning, was a testament to the changes taking root. Representatives from both sides spoke openly about their challenges and aspirations, acknowledging the need for mutual support. It was a tentative beginning, but it signified a shift towards a more inclusive society. Ethan watched as people mingled, exchanging stories and laughter, bridging gaps that had long seemed insurmountable. His heart swelled with pride, knowing that his actions had played a part in this transformation. Not everyone was immediately receptive to the idea of unity. Skepticism lingered, and some voices still called for caution. However, the dialogue that had begun was a powerful counterpoint to fear and misunderstanding. The simple act of sharing bread had become a metaphor for sharing trust and building alliances. As the morning wore on, Ethan found himself drawn into conversations with both human settlers and alien inhabitants. Each exchange reinforced his belief in the power of compassion and the willingness to understand one another. Zilla, too, engaged with those gathered, sharing her experiences and the struggles her people faced. Her words resonated, weaving a narrative of resilience and hope. Many listened intently, their perspectives gradually shifting as they heard first-hand accounts of the challenges the alien community endured. The day unfolded with a sense of purpose and possibility. By late afternoon, plans were being discussed to establish a more formal partnership between humans and aliens, initiatives that would focus on health, trade, and cultural exchange. Ethan's bakery was proposed as a communal space for these efforts, a suggestion that warmed his heart. The idea of his humble bakery playing such a pivotal role was both humbling and inspiring. As the sun began to set, casting golden hues across the landscape, Ethan and Zilla stood side by side, watching the crowd disperse. They shared a quiet moment of reflection, aware of the journey they had undertaken together. The challenges they had faced seemed almost insurmountable at times, and yet here they stood, on the cusp of a new beginning. Zilla turned to Ethan, her eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and determination. "Thank you," she said softly, the words carrying the weight of all they had overcome. Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "We've only just begun," he replied, looking forward to the path ahead. Their actions had sparked a change, one that promised a brighter future for both humans and aliens. As they returned to the warmth of the bakery, the sense of unity and shared purpose lingered in the air, a testament to the strength of empathy and the bonds that had been forged in the most unexpected of circumstances. The story of Ethan and Zilla transformed the dynamic between the human colonists and the native aliens, serving as a catalyst for change and unity. Their bravery in facing adversity not only healed their immediate circumstances but also sowed the seeds for a brighter future. As word spread about their clandestine cooperation, the community began to see the potential that lay in collaboration rather than division. Ethan's bakery, once just a simple establishment in the settlement, turned into a symbol of hope and understanding. People from both cultures started visiting, driven by curiosity and a newfound openness to interspecies dialogue. Ethan's bold actions ignited conversations about shared struggles and the benefits of working together. The once isolated human settlement began to meld into the broader tapestry of the alien environment, creating a space that respected and celebrated both cultures. It wasn't an easy transition, but the shared experiences of Ethan and Zilla forged pathways of empathy and mutual respect. They showed that even in the face of deeply ingrained prejudice, individual actions could ripple outward, influencing broader societal change. The authorities, initially skeptical, recognized the positive impact this collaboration brought to the community. Instead of punishing Ethan, they acknowledged his pivotal role in bridging the gap between the two peoples. Meetings were organized to discuss common issues and solutions, paving the way for joint ventures and collective prosperity. On a personal level, Ethan's friendship with Zilla flourished, marked by their regular exchanges and a deepening understanding of each other's worlds. They became advocates for peace and cooperation, using their story to inspire others to look beyond superficial differences. Zilla, once a shadowy figure stealing bread to survive, became a respected liaison within her community, advocating for her people's needs and fostering a dialogue with the humans. Her mother, now healthier, joined these efforts, sharing her knowledge and wisdom to strengthen the alliance. The bakery continued to be a meeting place, where ideas fermented as freely as the dough in Ethan's hands. Children from both communities gathered to listen to tales of old, learning about each other's histories and creating new folklore of their own. The beauty of their success lay not only in the pragmatic benefits of shared resources but in the profound shifts in perception and attitude. Trust was rebuilt where walls had once stood, and hearts opened to the richness that diversity brought. This new era of cooperation promised a future where humans and aliens coexisted in harmony, leveraging their unique strengths for the collective good. As the sun set over the settlement, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Ethan and Zilla stood side by side, contemplating the journey they had undertaken. Their actions demonstrated that courage and compassion could transcend the boundaries of species, forging connections stronger than any material bond. With a renewed sense of purpose, they vowed to continue advocating for peace and understanding, ensuring that their story would not just be a singular event but a lasting legacy. In this new dawn, with barriers broken and hearts unified, they envisaged a thriving community where all beings could flourish. As the narrative draws to a close, it leaves a powerful message, that empathy and kindness hold the power to change the world. Their story is a testament to the human spirit's resilience and the potential for harmony and diversity. It reminds us of the importance of reaching out, of daring to understand those who are different from us, and of building bridges where once there were none. In inviting viewers to reflect on this journey, Ethan and Zilla extend an invitation to explore more stories that inspire and provoke thought, urging us to engage with content that fosters awareness and connection. For those intrigued by their tale, there's an encouragement to explore further, to delve into narratives that challenge perceptions and celebrate unity. As we sign off, we prompt an exploration of the next story, offering a seamless journey into another world of intrigue and insight, thus fostering a community of curious and open-minded thinkers ready to embrace the wonders of the universe and the possibilities that lie within.